Alrighty. Good morning, boys and
Hello
girls. Welcome. Golden, good morning. Welcome in there. Welcome. Let's get the show on the road, shall we? Right. First things first. Auction house. Right. We had a fun day yesterday. It was a blast. Start of season 1 was an interesting day. It showcased a lot to me on how I think things are going to play out in the next few days and weeks. What it also taught me, well, this was more reassurance. Everything's going to be expensive. I don't think some players are ready. I don't think players are ready for how expensive some things are going to be. The mindset of anything other than the best is dog shit, is going to be really difficult to keep. We're going to see if people put their money where their mouth is in this regard. We spoke about this a little bit yesterday, but the average price of your average tier 3 consumable enchant gem, any of that business, woo, spicy. The chest enchant is hilariously expensive. There's a lot of stuff that's just silly money, like actually silly money. And I don't see it going down too dramatically that quickly, since we started to also see just what the material market, or what's going to happen to the material market as well. We've seen some key materials just get stripped. Storm dust, right? They put a shatter in for storm dust. Didn't matter. Storm dust hasn't budged. Hasn't budged in price, but I tell you what, its quantity is halved, which is kind of wild. In my opinion. The shatter? Well, the shatter's only, the people are only going to do the shatter when the price is right. The reality is that shards should, in theory, be, conceptually, shards should be more expensive than dust. And so you shatter the shards into the cheaper material if, shards end up being too cheap. But, goblins do goblin things. They just whacked the price of the shards up. Made it not really viable for people to shatter into dust until people start making some new shards, and that pushes the price down. All of this takes time. Disenchanters are going to be laughing, by the way. People disenchanting are having an absolute field day. Now, I'm likely getting a bunch of expireds coming through here. So let's first loot the mailbox from yesterday. This character had no gold on him yesterday, by the way. Now, under normal circumstances, I actually think, what did we get? 8 million gold, give or take. 8 million gold in sales yesterday from selling a variety of basic bits and pieces. I'm pretty happy with that. It's no Shadowlands legendaries. We were doing that in an hour for Shadowlands legendaries, but it's not bad. I'll take that. That's definitely going to help recuperate the war bank a little bit. So the war bank is dry right now. Disenchanting profits went up like 200 to 300. Yeah, well, they will. They absolutely will. Let's put. Let's think about this for a minute. How much was in the bags? If we keep a mil on the bank character, just in case we need to buy anything. We're not really buying too much though. So let's do 6,852,100 gold in the war bank. That should leave me with a flat mil. I'll point out a couple of things to highlight then from yesterday. Is the rank 3 flask market was nowhere near as explosive as I expected it might have been. The two reasons for that, I feel, twofold. One being, I'm not convinced that the price really incentivizes all that many people to buy quality 3 flasks. It's literally 10 times the price for a quality 3 flask as to what it is for a quality 2. Now, obviously, this is just the one where I can mass produce it, right? I focused on that one specifically. Your reason as a raider, as a endgame player, you know, this is kind of one thing I touched on earlier. If you want to be that min-max player, if nothing but the best for you, let's see when these players put their money when their mouth is. Are people going to be content paying 3,500 gold for a flask when one that is basically identical is available for 1/10 of the price? This is going to have a real effect on the endgame crafting markets until things sort of start to normalize. My suspicion is that this middle tier stuff is going to rise, and the top tier stuff is going to come down a little bit, but it's not going to come down by much, I can tell you that much, because there's not going to be many people out there that can craft this shit. The top price will come down, but the bottom price has got to go up. Like, there's no way that this is sustainable to have this 10 times price differential between these. One's got to come down, the other's got to go up. It's depending on which one's going to go, you know, further and faster. You got to have max multi-crafting for bonk crafting to even be viable now. 30 points into less is more. Well, yeah, margins are definitely being squished. Margins are definitely being pushed. And those players who are keeping on top of their knowledge points are, surprise, surprise, winning. He who has more points, he who has more skills, he who has more stats wins. It's not anything new. This is why some people push as hard as they can and as fast as they can, because it gives them more points for longer until everybody eventually always catches up. I know people love to say there's no catch up, but if you can cap your gear, if you can be max build in 2 weeks, then that's great. But once you are max build, you're max build. There does come a point with professions, even if you've done Artisan Security Shuffle, even if you've been hyper min-max on knowledge points, there comes a point where you can't get any better. You've hit max build, you've hit the ceiling. There's nowhere else for you to go. And that means from that very point on, everybody else every single day is catching up. And the way you make your gold is you make all of that gold before everybody catches up to you. And so, yeah, scenarios like bonk crafting. Cloth went wild yesterday, by the way. Cloth market went absolutely loopy. It was quite fun selling some exquisite Weaver cloth bolts yesterday. Where's cloth? Reagents, cloth, this expansion only. Cloth went bananas yesterday. It's come back to some sense of normality a little bit now, but Weaver cloth bolts of all varieties are 100 gold plus. Who remembers only a week ago when these were like 6 gold a piece? It's mental. Actually wild. But I kind of pointed out at the time, that having Weaver cloth bolt, which is a crafted variation from Weaver cloth, a 2-step crafted process, by the way. You have to turn Weaver cloth into spools first, and then you turn spools into the bolts. That's a 2-step crafted item. There was no way on God's earth it was going to be sustainable at 6 gold a piece. It was mental. Actually mental. Seems that everybody is rushing to mastery and haste whilst nobody's in verse. I'm not sure. I didn't actually pay any attention to like class guides or anything when picking my flask to craft into. I saw that BM hunters seem to care quite a lot for mastery in like Mythic Plus environments, and so I went the greedy approach. I picked the flask that is more relevant to me. I have a bunch of hunters. They're all Beastmaster spec. If I'm going to be using flasks, it's probably going to be the mastery one, because I'm going to be doing dungeons and stuff probably more than raids. So I went greedy first. If I manage to land in the same area as everybody else, then I'm happy. Otherwise, it's all good. A lot of paladins leveled. They love their mastery, do they? I haven't played paladin properly for a while. Why do you think the tailoring bolt army has gone to shit? Spools of Dusk Thread has been so high, and Duskweave bolts hasn't risen with it. Well, you got to think about supply and demand, right? How many tailors are there out there now? Think about it. Think about it for a second. How many players have loaded up 20 tailors churning out bolts every day? Probably quite a lot, right? That in and of itself creates a huge demand for the spools, for the spools of Dawnweave and Duskweave. The likelihood is that most of those players are not able to effectively unravel the cloth themselves because they've spec'd into making the bolts on the cheap. You know, this is an alt army situation. So most of those alt armies are probably in a position right now where they're looking at buying the spools. And so the demand is actually on the spools. That's where the demand is. And where the demand is where people will, you know, the prices are usually going to be greater. Your demand for endgame Duskweave bolts right now is pretty slim. It'll kick in. It'll definitely kick in. But I would say in the first couple of weeks especially, the demand for this sort of stuff has been higher from everybody loading up 20 different tailoring alts. The alt armies create quite a significant demand on materials themselves, even though their end goal is, of course, to supply all of the people who want their endgame crafted cloth gear. Let me have a quick look at some of the markets that I was dipping into yesterday, see what's ended up. So we just kind of touched on spools. Dawn Thread, Dusk Thread, near or around 100 gold a piece. It's nearly 1-to-1 when you're well spec'd as a tailor here anyway. Exquisites, quality 2, still nicely priced. These have risen a little bit, presumably in line with, well, namely demand, honestly. Core alloys at Q1 and Q2. Cheap core alloys are still not that many of them, to be fair, but they're there. Gemstones at quality 3. The supply of this has kept up with yesterday's pace, which was interesting. I don't have much experience with the gem market. Who's doing gems jewel crafting wise? Who's doing jewel crafting gems? What's that been looking like? Because if you're doing Q3 gems, as soon as you're doing Q3 gems in any great capacity, then your demand for this quality 3 gemstones is going to go through the roof. So I think this still has got its moment. Stormdust Q3 is close to 500 gold a piece on NA. Surely Stormdust Q2 isn't like... Surely... well, I suppose there isn't the direct shuffle, is there, with Stormdust? If you want endgame gear based on Dawn or Duskweave, good luck finding a tailor that has actually gone down both gear and the Dusk Dawn tree in order to craft at a good quality. That's probably true, you know. It's probably true. An awful lot of tailors out there, but very few of them are looking at actually crafting the gear. Yeah, that's at least any that are like special in what they do. It's probably a good point. Selling them faster than I can prospect, crush, and craft them. Making a lot right now, so that's good though. Okay, well, it's good to hear gems are popping off. Clearly an indication that people are getting their gear then. People are getting their gear. The Magnificent Jewelers setting is probably an interesting market. Tinder Boxes. We can't not talk about Tinder Boxes, can we? There's still an awful lot of them knocking about, and I've seen some pretty aggressive dumps of supply. It may not be too long before some of these people with big stacks of them start to get a bit itchy to get their gold back. Because, yeah, we'll have to see what goes on with these. See, Tinder Boxes will either go one way or they'll go the other. They'll either end up being the flipping... they'll either end up being the quality 3 diamond from Dragonflight, which went from 2,000 gold a piece up to 30,000 gold a piece, and you couldn't literally prospect the damn things fast enough. Or, as I've suspected more so than anything, that this might have been a bit of a bubble, and far too many people were stockpiling these away, expecting them to go to 30k for them to ever actually get there, because there'll be too many people like this that will dump their entire supply on the auction house as a quick, oh my god, let's get out before, you know, crazy time. Literally guesswork at this point. I managed to get some use, not a huge amount, but I managed to get some use out of my scribe. I was busting out a few shadow inks yesterday. Managed to get those at quality 3 at a reasonable price yesterday. Core alloys at quality 3 are up to nearly 2k a piece. Is that an indication that bismuth is... bismuth is holding. It's holding. It's doing its best to stay there. It's risen a little bit in value from yesterday, but it's doing its best to stay there. Q1 and Q2 are still fine. You're borderline starting to get to the point where converting bismuth up becomes like an alternative choice for you. But there's only twice as much quality 2 bismuth as there is quality 3. So somebody could buy the entire bismuth market and barely make a dent on the quality 3 market. That could be funny. That would be amusing. Charged alloys still 3k, above 3k a piece, but they are incredibly close to crafting cost at that price. Ingots are really competitive at the moment. Really competitive. Chest enchants were selling faster than you could post them. Chest enchants. I had a look at enchanting. I actually spent some points in enchanting. I crafted up a few of the basic quality 2 weapon enchants and saw some reasonable success on these until other people realized that the top tier weapon enchants... People realized the top tier weapon enchants were like 0 margin and started looking other places. And there was I was filling the gap in the market for a small while, but people have caught up with these now. We'll see what happens with these tonight. It was fun to play in a whole bunch of different markets though, because it allowed me to spot when weird shit was happening. And in essence be able to react to the weird shit happening also. That was quite cool. Selling quality 3 low-end rings faster than you can actually print them. Yeah, see, this is it, right? That's going to showcase just what's going to happen to some of the materials. Some of the materials are just going to get hoovered, I think. Where's it going to be? Enchanting mats. Storm dust at quality 3. It's weird, right? We've had the shard shuffle. Shard shuffle's turned up, but all it's done is push the price of quality 1 and quality 2 dust down. It's not made any effect on the quality 3 dust. In fact, the price of quality 3 dust has risen by about 50% in the last 48 hours. It'll take a few days for things to balance out, though, I think. It'll definitely take a few days for things to balance out. I sold enough stuff yesterday, though, that I do feel like I might need to restock on a bunch of things today. Might need to be doing borderline daily restocks at the moment. By the way, craft windows, if I hit craft all, it'll start picking mats from the wall bank and we'll use Q3s without prompting. Does that happen to you guys? Sometimes, yeah. it's kind of annoying. Especially if you are crafting multiple different qualities of things. And what I've been doing as well in a few professions is deliberately using split stacks of... So like I'll use some Q2s and some Q3s to hit like perfect thresholds to optimize crafting costs, which means I'm keeping a stack of like... I'm keeping many of all different qualities of materials. And if you just press craft all, it can definitely sometimes go a bit chaotic. I usually try and limit it to exactly what the materials I have in the bags, but it's, yeah, a touch frustrating. Is there a shuffle on crystals in any way? I'm not sure there is there? There's nothing that you can use with crystals to make something that can then be disenchanted again like there is with Storm Dust. It's interesting, the price on this is starting to look like you could do some of that. I wonder what tailors are looking at regards to your tailor enchanters. A tailor's able to start using large quantities of this cheap shit Storm Dust alongside some basic exquisite bolts maybe as a way to churn through a bunch of basic Storm Dust to disenchant to give you chances at Q3s. And does that end up as a profitable adventure as a way to shuffle up the quality of your Storm Dust by using basically Q1 Storm Dust and a bit of basic cloth as a catalyst? That's theoretically possible, but it's a numbers game to figure out if it works or not.
Both, I hope.
Sunnyside with a prime, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good morning to you. Bets on a crystal shatter being added. Stock up on them if you believe. Well, no, I'm not convinced. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. You got to remember that crystals, all three qualities of crystals have an exit strategy. Quality 1s and quality 2s appear to be stacking up right now. But don't forget, crests. Crests. That's where quality 1 and quality 2 crystals go. They go in all of the crests. Soon as people start getting their crests, they're going to hoover up the quality 1 and quality 2 crystal markets. Same with the quality 1 and quality 2 Storm Dust, if I'm honest. The cheap enchanting materials go in the crests. The top tier enchanting materials go in the enchants, in theory. When you look at how many materials you need per crest, it's quite heavy. Blasphemites are down 50% from last week. RIP. Yeah, I was never convinced Blasphemites were going to stay anywhere particularly strong with thaumaturgy being with alchemy. There were people, you saw screenshots of people with tens of thousands of the gleaming transmutagen, tens of thousands of the stuff. The only hope with Blasphemites is that the market just gets stripped by the jeweler's setting things. There's actually two. That's funny. There's two recipes for it on my auction house now. 1,000,000 gold. That came down fast, didn't it? The jeweler's setting. 2,000 of them available. 7,000 gold. I would imagine by the time you take 2 null stones, that's literally crafting cost, isn't it? That's literally crafting cost. What's it? Two null stones. Hang on, does the recipe say? 2 null stones and a blasphemite and 20 marble stone. Yeah, 2 null stones. They're literally at crafting cost. Literally at crafting cost. Jeweler's setting can be juiced. Yeah, there's no restriction on this. There's no quality on it. If you got the mats, pump it out. You got the mats, pump it out. This is why I was never too sold and didn't push too hard to get this recipe, even though jewel crafting is fun. Null stone, 3k on the null stones. 15,000 of them. That's 7,000. That's enough for 7,000 of the jeweler settings. Interesting. Right, okay. Before I tinker around here too long, let's get at least a little bit of summing up on the auction house. I'm not going to aggressively be pushing for sales this morning, as I don't suspect it's the time, but if you don't list anything, you don't sell anything, you know? Although saying that, still clearly people buying shit. Holy Christ. Holy Christ. Post it, sell it. Damn, son. I got a bunch of shit expiring all the same. Maybe we get that cancel scan out of the way, considering it's small. How much concentration do we get back a day? Roughly 250. Sockets will be a good seller over time, but I think most of that will hold off until myth track gear from the vaults. Yeah, I think Vault Day is going to be a bigger day for that sort of stuff. The way to make gold in that little market, I think, is to wait for one of those big days. You're not going to consistently sell them all day long at a profit. They're going to sit at crafting cost, I would imagine, for the most part. They'll sit at crafting cost, but then when that big one day, you know, Vault Day hits, then there's a chance they'll run out for as long, you know, they'll run out temporarily, but they'll only run out for as long as it takes somebody to put more on the auction house, you know. There's not going to be any real restriction there, I don't think. Right, let's leave that dude doing his thing. Let's put you over there. Actually, I've just realised I'm going to need access to my warbank, so let's log this dude out. So we get warbank access on our main realm, main account. Let's start checking patron orders, I guess, first thing. Can we get this full screen mode? I didn't even realise it was in windowed. What's going on in Discord? Options. Full screen. Much better. Much better. Right, now log the bank character back in. Right, any patron orders? Let's have a look, shall we? Don't need quite so many windows open for Craft Sim. Still only 3. We still not had our wave of patron orders. Oh dear, oh dear. Still haven't had our wave of patron orders by the looks of things. I tell you what, that's going to frustrate anybody that's waiting on their patron orders to get like their last 1 or 2 crafts done. Holy shit. Okay. Let me go see if this dude needs to throw any time at prospecting or whether it's time to start selling the gems.
I have an
Do a quick scanner-rooney.
for Outlanders.
Let's have a look at these prices. We got... What do we got? What do we got? Kirite holding strong. Whoa, there's only 93,000 of this left. Jeez Louise. Okay, somebody's had a run on that then, clearly, by the looks of things. That looks like a reset. Damn, that's wild. Only 54,000 available up until 30 gold. Sheesh. It's not a lot, is it? That's a few hours of it's an hour or two of prospecting, mind, but that's really not a lot at all, is it? Is that the same with the some of the other ores? 79. Oh, shit, the bed. Where did all the ore go? Jewel crafters, you really are selling shit faster than you can prospect it. Damn, son, relax. Okay. See, when there is more quality 3 iron claw ore than quality 1 and quality 2 combined, you jewel crafters have gone hard. Sheesh. You're going to start prospecting quality 3 soon. That's unironically going to happen, isn't it? What's the price of the actual gems doing, though? See, the base gems have... What the hell? The hell? There's like no rubies. Anybody else notice the fact there's no rubies? The hell? Oh dear.
Return and peruse my inventory.
Some volatile times ahead. Dear Lord.
My directive is to serve you.
Where did they go? There we go. We're actually throttled by crushed gemstones, though. Just because you need, like, 30 per cut. Yeah. I suspected that's probably the case. But does that not necessarily mean that people are smushing down? People not looking at crushing the basic gems then because of that even? Come on, lads, let's not mess around here.
I have calibrated my prices to be reasonable.
Are we getting ghost auctions in here as well already? I think we might be, you know. Ghost auctions might be back. I haven't noticed a difference in yields besides the quality of the crushed gems. I will let you into a little secret. There is. Maybe pay more attention to your data. Sold 4,500 cut gems yesterday within a period of 4 hours at rank 2. Nice. Okay, well, it's going to be fun in the gem market then in a little while. See, why is the auction house not reporting back? The auction house is scuffed again.
My thanks for your patronage.
Oh, no, now it's thinking about it. Okay, the auction house has got lag on it again, which is going to be good fun. Everybody loves a laggy auction house, don't they? Nothing frustrating about a laggy auction house. No, not at all. I use the onyx, the ruby, and the emeralds for crafting, and crush down the sapphires currently to sustain with prospecting. Well, there definitely is better yields the higher the quality of the ore you prospect. I don't have very much exacting data on it, but I know that is a thing. Glittering glass. There's still a fair amount of glittering glass, you know. Pebbles ending up being the thing that's stacking up, are they? Where are all the pebbles going? Into marbled stone? Or is it that people are then breaking the pebbles down? It's 5 pebbles for like 1 amber, right? So, well, that doesn't make any sense. So maybe that's... Where's all the pebbles going? What have I missed there? What maths have I got wrong there? I thought it was 5 pebbles for 1 amber. Or maybe it is and people just aren't doing it. Because where are all these ambers coming from? Otherwise. Because if you're prospecting properly, you don't get ambers. Does this mean there's just a huge amount of people that are prospecting but just doing it really badly? That could equally be possible. This is the difficulty, right? Even if you spec into gems, there are some people that feel that prospecting themselves is still the way to do it. No. Let me let you into another secret if you don't already know. If you're cutting and selling gems and you haven't put points in prospecting, buy your goddamn gems. You're spending more gold on ore by trying to do it yourself. Like the jewel crafters out there that have got points in here are absolutely dumpstering you on yields with prospecting to somebody that hasn't put a bunch of points in here. If all of your points are in this tree, you've got to buy your gems. Don't be prospecting your own gems if you've got points in this tree. You're going to be losing your ass doing that. Plus you're wasting time. If you do the maths, you'll find it cheaper to buy the gems. Oh, the pebbles are going into the stone, which then goes into the setting. Okay, yeah, that's gonna be a big influx on that short term. Yeah, you're right. The engraved gem cutters. Yeah, there's a bunch going into this for sure. But same argument again. If all of your points are in this tree, you shouldn't be making those yourself. Unless, of course, you've got separate characters doing the separate jobs for you. Sure, obviously. But you can't be doing it all on one character. If you've put all your knowledge points in here, you've signed yourself off from doing any prospecting or any intermediates. You will just need to be buying your gems and doing it. Like I said, unless you have other characters that have spec'd more heavily into here. There's part of me that wants to make a gem cutting jewel crafter. My main will probably do that job because it's a character that isn't going to be doing any shuffle. So I'm never going to be super special at it, but yeah, jewel crafters need 2, probably 3 characters to be self-sufficient. 1 to cut the gems themselves, 1 to do the prospecting, 1 to focus on the intermediate materials. And then there is a strong argument to say that gem crafters, you could do with 4 jewel crafters, 1 specialized in each direction if you were like really going for it. And maybe even a 5th to generalize and then be good at the blasphemites when there's enough knowledge points available there. You could have an army of jewel crafters all doing different jobs, all focused on the one profession. It's actually something I very heavily considered doing going into the War Within. I was like, is it possible with an army of characters to fully utilize and to fully optimize jewel crafting 100%? The only reason I didn't do it is because I was concerned too many people would copy it. I had the experience in Dragonflight where I focused very heavily on certain things, and by the end of the day, the markets were just dead. And because I'd put all of my eggs in that basket, I shot myself in the foot. So this is why I've spread myself pretty finely across the professions this time round, to hopefully limit that effect. Authority of the Depths is up on the auction house, 2 mil gold, but it's the BIS enchant for most classes. Should I buy it, try and make a profit selling the enchants, or should I wait as the price will drop in weeks and miss out on doing this? Your call. Your call. 100% your call. Enchant, that is putting a lot of risk in that. I mean, literally my last few sentences, that's putting a lot of capital, a lot of risk in one item. And if you could buy the recipe for 2 million gold and be first to market, sure, but take a look at how many of them already exist, right? Recipes are available, enchants are available. Now, I would suggest, and I would suspect, without doing the maths, that these are going to be... I mean, there's already 500 of these, right? Just think how many individual people this actually is. You're going to live in cancel scan land. You're going to absolutely live in cancel scan land, and you're going to be clawing back. Let's say you make 10k profit on each one of these. Let's say one, you have an enchanter that is actually capable at mass producing them at quality 3 in the first place. Let's say two, you do buy the recipe for, let's say, 2 million gold. And let's say there's 10k profit on every single sale that you make. You're going to have to make 200 sales before you break even. If you think you can make 200 sales at 10k profit to break even, give it a go. Why not? But on an item that's sold on the region-wide auction house, the people that make stupid money are the people that get the recipe first. You're not first. You're not first. I wouldn't say that it's a very smart move, personally. You know, the Lariat in Dragonflight, people spent 5 million gold, 10 million gold on the Lariat. But that's because they were the one person on their server, or the second or the third person on their server that could craft it. Server dependent, right? Server restriction. Region-wide auction house. You're not first, so I wouldn't spend stupid money on a recipe. Unless you've got 50 million gold and 2 million gold is just like, well, if I lose it, I lose it. But you'll buy this, you'll then put all of your focus and all of your effort and all of your time into making this gold back, probably meaning you take your eyes off everything else that's going on around you. And how much gold might you miss by not, you know, keeping your eyes open because you laser focus onto, I must make my 2 mil back, I must make my 2 mil back, I must make my 2 mil back. When actually, you've probably already got a system that's working reasonably well, and if you just keep at it, you'll make more than you would with this anyway. Diversification is crucial and has already helped me massively. I noticed yesterday selling, is it possible to see, I don't know if the ledger's going to do a great job of this because TSM's not really tracking stuff particularly well. Revenue, sales, last 3 days. Yeah, this doesn't work very well because that's clearly not true. I mean, that's just not true, is it? I sold 8 million gold worth of stuff just yesterday. So that's clearly just not true. I don't know how it says 1.6 mil total. TSM doesn't seem to be tracking things particularly well. I'm not entirely sure why. But, I mean, that's just wrong. It's just categorically wrong. I was more close to 10 million gold in sales yesterday in total than I was this. So I don't know what's going on here. Journalator's been working great for Zan. I might look at an alternative option. But anyway, if Patron orders haven't reset, then I need to get back to actually restocking and recrafting, I reckon, then. So let's move you out the way. But yeah, I wouldn't really suggest this is a great idea. I mean, it's clear that the recipes are not difficult to get with enough people doing it. My question here is, do I put my money where my mouth is? And do I snag up a few? No, I'm not going to. I've already got a mailbox full of ore. I've got a mailbox full of ore. I'll use that when I need to. Right, see if blacksmithing's got anything on the go. I did sell through most of my ingots yesterday. Have absolutely no problem selling ingots. The problem I have is that they are skinny. And I'm not in a position where I'm chasing skinny at the moment. I like fat and I like juicy. I like a bit of thickness in my profits. Right, let's go. Let's take the assumption that we're going to craft a bunch of stuff.
I have an extended
and with that assumption, we will take some gold out the guild bank.
My directive has been fulfilled.
Getting way less patron orders with crafting points this week, maybe stealth nerf. Well, they haven't come through yet, by my understanding. I've not had. That's the wrong table. That'll be why. I've not had a refresh batch of patron orders through so far. No. These are both ones that I've looked at before and been like, I don't care about artisan security, I'm not going to bother. If you don't provide me the nullstone, I'm not spending 5k on 10 artisan security when I don't need it. So yeah, we've not had another batch of patron orders through this reset, which, I mean, who knows? You know, they could have tweaked the numbers behind the scenes. I did kind of suspect that they were dishing out way too many, so it kind of wouldn't have surprised me if
prices to be reasonable.
It wouldn't surprise me if they toned it back, because they did say, I remember when they first put the patron orders on the beta, I remember one thing they said was that 10 or 12 patron orders was too much and they were going to dial it back. Yet last week we got 10 or 12 patron orders. So there is part of me that somewhat thinks they might have tweaked the numbers. But I guess, you know, if they have, it's the same for everybody, so... It's not like one person gets an advantage over another. Admittedly, you get an advantage if you had already started your professions. If you were starting them this week, then you are technically, yes, at a disadvantage, but you were of your own doing because you didn't start your professions yet. It's not necessarily Blizzard's fault. Bit puzzled about the knowledge points in the game. I'm a Jawcraft and I started 2 weeks later despite the fact I had early access and I seem to be way behind everybody else. I only managed to get 95 knowledge points without the Artisan Security because I needed that for the tools. How is... Hang on. Either I've read that wrong, or you stated that you started about 2 weeks later, and you're behind. Of course, you... What? Yeah. Either you've wrote that wrong, or I've read that wrong. If you start 2 weeks late, you're gonna be 2 weeks behind. They've nerfed it for sure. When I learn a new profession, I now only get 5 patron orders. Before it was 8 to 10. Okay. Yeah, I'm confused. I'm confused. Either I've misread something or I'm confused. I had 2 toons refresh, and it did seem smaller than usual for me as well. Maybe they have toned it back a bit. Maybe they have toned it back a bit. I was definitely of the opinion that they were dishing out like Artisan Security, knowledge points, patron orders. They were dishing them out like candy. Literally like candy. I would log on to a character and I'd be able to get like 8 to 10 knowledge points. Boom. Fill a few orders, job done. Come back later the week, do it again. I am behind on knowledge points. I look at how many knowledge points you have and how many I have. Is that how much you've missed? Well, my characters are more likely an example of like closer to the 95 percentile sort of amount of knowledge points you can obtain. Most characters I've done everything. So like this blacksmith, for example, has left no stone unturned. The only thing this blacksmith hasn't done is bought the PvP recipes. So there are still technically players out there that could have bought a bunch of recipes as well and be even further ahead than I am. But exactly the same as Dragonflight. There comes a point where you don't need more Artisan Security and you don't need more knowledge points. There is such thing as max build. I am 7 points away from max build. Once I have 30, 60, 70, 80 points over here for alloys, and once I have 90 points in here, there is no more points I can spend that is going to give me any better ability to make alloys. So, you know, you can reach max build quite quickly. This is why my overall opinion on the shuffle was that it was cool and it was good fun, but it was absolutely not worth it. 100% not worth it. The only way the shuffle would have ever really have actually had significant value was if the season started earlier. The season started too late for the shuffle to really have sort of been of any value. There was too much time for people to do the your early advantage of shuffling and getting like huge amounts of Artisan Security, and being able to craft rank 3 stuff was all for nothing because nobody wanted it. That was the big problem, right? You only print gold when you're first to market on something that everybody wants. Most of the shuffles were, in effect, too quick for the pace of the game, meaning that you could do it as fast as you wanted. You could throw as much gold at it as you wanted. You could farm the artisan security. You could farm those knowledge points. You could do it all as fast as you wanted. But when there was 7, 14, when there was 18 days from the launch of, you had 18 days to do it before anybody really wanted anything particular. It's too long. It's too long. Too many people have now done it. Too many people are now fighting in that top tier for the shuffle to have really been worth. I'm at a point where the amount I've spent on shuffling on a bunch of characters, it's going to take me quite some time to recuperate that. The smarter thing for me would to have been to have shuffled on 1 or 2 characters, but gone like hardcore lazy man approach on a few others, and so let the profits of one pay for the others, sort of thing. But I just had fun for a few weeks instead and burnt a bunch of gold. I'm at 155 jewel crafting knowledge, and there's still a few recipes I've not bought or crafted yet. That is with going try hard on it. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is it. 150-ish knowledge points is achievable in most of the professions now, I think. Which, from virtually every craft in the game, is pushing max build at that point. But yeah, the season, like, the season could have done with starting a week earlier. If the season started a week earlier, or even if we had like a Mythic Zero week or something, like we've historically had before, even if we had something for regular players to chase after and to get that little bit better gear, that would have definitely helped.
My directive is to serve you.
So yeah, I don't really think the shuffle was overly worth it, ultimately. It was a lot of fun, though. It was a lot of fun. And the reality is I've now got my nose ahead of most people, and so there'll still be profit in that for sure. $2K a piece. 2.2K button press. 2.2K to press the button. 1.9 to sell it at. Plus resourcefulness, plus multicraft. On alloys that doesn't really work very well. I'm still not convinced that they're worth producing. The money might be in shuffling them up into alloys. Ironclaw alloys, maybe. We're looking at 4K crafting cost on these, plus the cost of the ore that is nominal. Okay, so this is relatively close to correct. 4K for a button press. You're going to really have to stack up some. You're going to have to stack up some pretty aggressive multicraft to get down to 3.2K per on those. That's not particularly fun. There looks like there could be more money on the mid-tier ones. What if we do... Arguably not really anything in that either. Does that mean that there's maybe more love in super duper mega basic cheap core alloys en masse? No. Very competitive market in the alloys. Now obviously I'm doing this without ever burning ignition up, which will give me an extra 10%, but it's still incredibly tight. And it entirely hinges on the price of bismuth from every angle. What about the sanctified alloys? I bet these are in tatters at the moment, aren't they? Stupid Tinder boxes. Although buying Tinder boxes right now is hella risky. Because they could go up, they could go down. Nullstone seems to be a bit of a starting to become a bit of a bottleneck as well. Blacksmith has most of its goods only on work orders, which is a pain in the ass. Alas, I made bank on alloys yesterday. What is this music? It's old school, that's what it is. Do I craft up a bunch of mid-tier stuff, maybe? It's spend a lot of gold for a very slim chance of seeing any returns on it right now. There are too many volatile aspects to this entire alloy market right now, which, whilst is one of those that I know I can do. So, see, the problem is, right, even basic alloys, the reality is it's 10 gold per craft, and each craft is actually quite slow. Which even means even if I do squeeze some profit out of these, it's not fun. And it's not very time efficient. Maybe we just sack off blacksmithing for now. We can quickly run up the mill if needs be later. But I can't imagine there's much of anything I care about right now. Ironclaw Waystones? Jesus. 400 gold profit per craft? Are you mad? Surely not. I guess the entire value of this is attached pretty heavily to the price of the nullstone, isn't it? It's weird. Better off doing penny stocks than Tinder boxes? Probably. It's crazy how often things sell for less than they should be listed for. This is going to be something that players are going to have to get used to. Mostly because there is the long-term eventuality where crafters will use quality 2 materials in concentration instead of mass producing something at quality 3. And when enough people use quality 2 materials in concentration, if there's enough people that can do that to facilitate the demand out there, then there's no reason for the price to ever be higher than the mass-produced crafting cost of Q3s. This is a few months down the line, but it's something that's coming. This is why, if you push into the quality 3 guaranteed markets now, you got to do it fast, get in, cash out, make bank, because you should also understand where the market's going. There's going to be 2 prices for everything. There's going to be the price of mass producing it, which is going to be the highest possible price because it's going to contain all quality 3 materials. And then you're going to have the price of that same crafter coming along, same skilled crafter coming along, which we've also just talked about the fact that is not actually more than a couple of weeks' effort, in theory. A little bit longer than that if you're just gaining artisan's acuity naturally. But the point still stands is that you'll get to the point where you've got your tools, you'll have got your 100 plus 40, and you'll have got your knowledge points. Once you've done that, you'll be at a position where you could, in theory, instead of looking at making a sanctified alloy at Q3, you could say, right, well, I'm going to use Q2 materials all round, but I'm going to throw concentration at it instead. Boom. And hey presto, my concentration is then worth about 1,000 gold to me. And if enough blacksmiths can come along and do exactly that to meet the demand for sanctified alloys, then there's no way the price will ever be above the mass-produced price. So right now, where you're able to mass-produce something at quality 3, and on occasion also do that at a profit, that is a massive luxury, a luxury that is and will go away. Because concentration is always sat there, and it's always waiting. It's just waiting. It's just waiting for the demand to change a little bit. Obviously, peak season, brand new season, you know, there'll be enough demand for stuff that no amount of concentration will actually satisfy that demand. But it will flip eventually. How come everything I always look at says it loses gold per craft? For example, are gems profitable if you multi-craft, even if it doesn't say it would be? While I'm gonna assume you're also using Craft Sim, because the game doesn't naturally tell you the prices by default. You probably don't have as many stats as somebody else, is often the case. It's not always the case, but it's usually the case. You don't have as many stats as somebody else. Think of it the same as DPS meters. The guy who has more gear, the guy who has more stats, the guy who has more strength hits harder. The guy who has more multi-craft, the guy who has more resourcefulness, the guy who has more knowledge points hits harder. It's the exact same concept. Yeah, it's not always the reason, but as of right now, it more likely is. Start the day, several gems were selling well below the rank 3 crafting cost until the market burned through that 3 weeks of people's concentration crafts. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. That's an example, right? You know, the price you see of things is usually pretty closely related to just how many people want it. If nobody wants anything, if absolutely nobody out there ever wanted a sanctified alloy, there's no way there'd ever be anywhere near the crafting price. Simply because, you know, if nobody wants it, nobody's going to buy it. If nobody buys it, doesn't matter if you craft it and try and you could sell it for 100 gold. If nobody wants it, nobody's going to buy it. What should I do if the mats are more expensive than the item I'm making? Well, for starters, not make it. You don't want to throw money into a black hole just because. You probably don't want to make things if it's going to cost you gold yourself. The only exclusion to that rule, though, of course, is things like your crafting orders. There's a good chance that people throw gold at crafting orders because it gives you something else. It might give you that knowledge point. It might, you know, investing in your crafting orders, investing in your patron orders could give you artisan security. It could give you knowledge points, which in turn gives you more stats. And that might mean with more stats that you do start to then be able to craft things at a more profitable point. You'll see green numbers if you use Craft Sim and simulate the crafts with a full BIS tree. Yeah, this is it. You can use Craft Sim to try and see what life would be like if you had more stats. And in that scenario, you'll often see the red numbers turn green. The lazy man approach to professions is the way I suggest most people do it, though. The lazy man approach to professions is to spend as little as you humanly can on your profession. Like, cheap out everywhere. Literally cheap out absolutely everywhere. Spend as little as you possibly can leveling that profession up. Don't try and push it to 100. Don't worry about getting the best tools. Do the absolute bare minimum you can. But the bare minimum needs to get you to the point where you can craft something at quality 2. Then you can use your concentration to make that thing at quality 3. That's the true lazy man approach. Now, it's never going to allow you to make much stuff, but it does mean everything you craft will be profitable. And what you'll quite quickly find is that the profit you can make on a handful of items over a few days will cover the cost of leveling that profession in its entirety. It means you can start seeing your gold go up really quite quickly. It's a really old school way of thinking. Yeah, it's surprising just how many people don't do it. But the best way to make gold with professions, right now at least, one of the best ways to make gold with professions is to focus on spending the least amount of gold. Like, you'll make more if you spend less. And you then start thinking in a more savvy way. You start thinking about, right, how can I get my materials cheaper then? How can I do, this patron order is going to cost me 1,000 gold. Is it going to actually be worthwhile? How long is it going to take me to get that 1,000 gold back? Filling this one patron order that gives me an augment rune might be a better route because it actually makes me gold. And then you just do that on a bunch of characters and you win.
My prices to be reasonable.
Because it's not like people are short on alts these days. And you don't need to be level 80 to do any of the profession stuff. You can have level 70s. Alright, let's see how these markets have balanced out since yesterday. Weaver cloth bolts are still being listed at like stupid high numbers, which is funny. It means you can come along, literally unravel basic bitch cloth. Take spools if needed. You can literally buy spools, craft bolts and win right now. That's amusing. 41 gold per craft. That's actually ridiculous. That's actually wild. Really? Hello? How does that even work? Okay, sure, funny. What about the lower tier stuff then? What if we use... Hang on, I don't have any basic spools on me.
My directive has been fulfilled. I have an extended supply of goods for Outlanders.
It's literally the same money whether you make quality 2 or quality 3. That's really funny. Well, I suppose, yeah, it's the same equation, isn't it? It's 12 gold up into 100 gold. Literally converting into cloth bolts. Wow, that's quite funny. That's quite amusing. And actually, if we did unraveling first, we'd win even harder, right? I'm pretty sure I win even harder if I do the unraveling myself. $12, $24, $36. So I actually win harder if I unravel the cloth myself even. What a stupid game. This is ridiculous, the fact that quality 1, 2 and 3 stuff is all exactly the same price. This is so broken. So broken. Okay, that's quite funny then. Buy cloth, unravel it, make bolts, win. Well, that's amusing. Farmer's got to go farm, clearly. What about me exquisites? These still money? These are still money too. 40 gold a craft. Take basic dust, throw some bolts at it, stack multi-craft through the roof, win. Okay. I had no problem selling exquisite weaver cloth bolt at like 385 gold all day yesterday as well. Literally all day long. Let's keep this stuff listed though. If you don't list it, you don't sell it. Okay, so my exquisites still looking spicy. Can we go? Doesn't like the sound. Why is it doing this? Oh, do I not have any quality 3 weaver cloth bolts on me?
My thanks for your...
This is the downside of not keeping half the materials on me.
I have calibrated my prices to be reasonable.
60 gold a piece on the exquisite. Well, that's easy business, isn't it? That's easy business. That's win source right there. The question is do we do the whole process? If we do the whole process, we capitalise on every profit margin and we don't lose the 5% every time.
Return and peruse my inventory.
Alright, so in that case, I need
My directive is to serve
weaver
you.
cloth bolts, or basic weaver cloth. Because I have the ability to do it with Q3s, I'll do it with Q3s. That's going to make me about 30,000 spools. That's going to make me about 30,000 spools. To the spools, we then add mosswool thread, which is nothing. Then we're going to take those bolts with mosswool thread and add them to the storm dust. I've already got a reasonable amount of storm dust.
My
Right,
directive has been
let's get the
fulfilled.
factory churning. Let's make sure we have the right tool on. I made this mistake yesterday. There's my resourcefulness tool. Okay, my tailor's coat isn't causing me too many issues right now. That could do with being quality 5, that could do with being quality 5, but that's neither here nor there. Then we go unraveling, and we go cloth. Let's load up on these and go. Let's turn that off because people get annoyed when they see a number that they don't believe. Right. That's chunking out weaver cloth, spools of weaver thread at least. Check out sharp weapon stones at tier 3 with finishing reagent plus 19% multi-craft. I'm getting 300 to 400 stones extra when crafting 1,000. It's best to craft every piece by yourself. Yeah, I mean, there's on the big ticket items, those finishing agents are actually money. if you're crafting big ticket items in small batches, most things need to cost sort of like, they need to have a base cost of at least sort of like 5k before the finishing reagents are worth using. But unless, of course, that is you can craft those finishing reagents yourself for an even greater markup. But have you ever thought about paying somebody 1k to stand on a Bruto next to the crafting tables for me? Well, I've currently got about 200 people watching. Surely one of you can come and do it for free, right? Streamer privileges. Maybe that should be, you know, some people have got, some people like to set goals for themselves, right? Maybe my goal for the War Within should be to get the Longboy. Not that the gold is really much of an issue, but just the bigger struggle is to have the characters on the black market auction house at the right time. I can safely say I don't think I've ever seen it pop. Let's see, I get notifications, right, on when the black market auction house gets updated, and I don't think I've ever seen it on Draenor, by the way. I quite literally don't think I've ever... It's not like I've gone, oh, I'd have got the Longboy if I was there last night, sort of thing. That's never happened. I've seen it pop up on, like, other big realms. I've seen it pop up on Tarren Mill once or twice. I've seen it pop up on Silvermoon. But I don't think I've ever seen it pop up on Draenor. But, yeah. Who's seen the, not that I'm the biggest fan of the store mounts by any means, but did anybody see the new bear? The Grizzly Hills bear in the shop. It's quite cute. This thing, the Grizzly Hills Packmaster. Basically $20 for your mammoth mount. Got the Mog, got the repairs on it. Replace the yak. Sorry, not the mammoth mount, the yak. I'll get it when it comes out for tendies. Be cool. I'm not sure it will though. I'm gonna have... Where did it hoover that cloth even from? It must have hoovered... Oh, it's there, look. We've got a lot of cloth to unravel. All this Dawnweave and Duskweave I could probably do with unraveling it as well. The reason I haven't though is because if the price spikes through the roof on this stuff, I'll just sell it back out. Get some sales while we do this wombo combo. It's part of me, you know, that feels like I might go out and do some gathering. I might get my farming character busy while we do this in the background. That's the best way to wombo combo stuff, I suppose. At least till I've got my, let's take a little bit of a look at Lazy Cash, my minor herbalist dude. How many store mounts haven't come out for tendies? I don't think any of the big name store mounts have come out for tendies. I'm not sure any of the big store mounts have. Tendies might end up getting like a reskin version, maybe possibly, but at least any of the sort of what you'd consider the iconic shop mounts. Special offers, mounts. Oh, I have a Tangled Dreamweaver somehow. I don't know how I own that one. Maybe it was gifted to me at some point. I historically don't buy these. I tend not to buy these. That said, there are a couple that are quite cool. The Grizzly Hills Packmaster I like the look of. That's quite cool. Squeakers annoys me every time, because Squeakers is legitimately one of the coolest mounts in the game. Without question, one of the coolest mounts in the game. And it annoys me it's a store mount. If it wasn't a store mount, I'd rock Squeakers most of the time, because he's just super cute. So cute. Easily one of my favourite mounts in the game. Look at him. His little hat. So cute. The rest of them, not too fussed about. Hogrus is quite cool, just because it's like gold-esque. He's a big gold pig. Yeah, the rest of them don't really appeal to me. Squeakers, though, I've had to resist on many occasions buying Squeakers. I try to stick to my guns. How do I have this one? Oh, this was like a heroic or an epic expansion one, which they've now just put it in the store, clearly. Is that maybe the same with this one, then? The Tangled Dreamweaver. Where did I acquire this from, then? Either it was gifted to me and I feel bad because I now don't remember it was gifted to me, or it was bundled in with some game at some point. Was it a pre-order, was it? Dragonflight pre-order? Ah, I see, okay. Oh, okay, so I've got those from pre-orders. They've just put them in the shop, have they? I see. Most of the pets I have... most of the pets I have, but that's because they come in bundles occasionally and are basically free. But yeah, I'm not the biggest advocate for the store mount stuff. I rant about it too often for me to then be hypocritical and own it all at the same time. I'm never going to work my way through all of this cloth, am I, if I don't pay attention to it. Oh, this doesn't need to be quite so ridiculously large on the screen anymore, does it? Let's fix this. Edit. It usually sits behind my camera. I'll do. This is the wrong UI. The wrong UI. There we go. That's better. I thought it was wrong. It still looks a bit wrong because it's in windowed mode right now. But that's so I can drag it out the way and we can keep on with this. Let's go get our gathering done for the week. All my weak auras now look smushed as well. Alright, we'll full screen it. Then it won't be problematic. Do we look better now? That weak aura is still aggressively over the top. Now, technically, I should probably drop herbalism and mining here. I should probably drop herbalism and mining in favour of enchanting and skinning quickly to harvest the easy knowledge points from skinning and herbalism. Do I do that now? Or do I just go and get my herbing and mining stuff for the week done first? While we're just crafting some bolts in the background. Maybe we'll just do that. Do I think the token has reached its bottom? I actually don't. I really don't. That's actually prompted me nicely into something I was going to talk about a little bit today. Actually, I think the token is gonna keep going. I'm pretty convinced the token's going to keep going down. This is mostly because only now are we starting to see just how expensive shit's going to be. Prior to this, it was just, you know, a bit of guesswork here and there, right? Bit of guesswork that, well, maybe there's a chance that maybe I should pick these up. It was a bit of guesswork that, you know, quality 3 stuff looks expensive, but those players out there that insist on having the best of everything, their bill for keeping that character up to speed is going to be pretty spicy. And those are usually the same players who will not probably make that much gold and will in turn actually just that will just straight up buy gold with tokens. They're the people that push the token price down. 200, what's the token right now? 283. I'm going to be real with you. In the EU, 283,000 gold ain't going to get you very far. It's really not going to get you very far at the moment. So those who do buy their gold with their credit card are going to be pretty heavily incentivized to take the credit card out that little bit more frequently, I think. Which might continue to push the token down somewhat. There's part of me that wants to sort of like try and figure this out a little bit more mathematically, try and put some numbers to this. Try and sort of figure out, right, well, if somebody, you know, if we've got credit card Andy over here, what's credit card Andy gonna look to be spending to get his full bis list done, dusted, and enchanted, and gemmed, and armor kitted up, and because quality 3, if you're going max everything, boy oh boy is it expensive. Because there'll be some people that refuse to have quality 2. And it's also going to be funny because, in my opinion, there's the internet argument of that anything but BIS is dog shit. Anything but the best people don't want. Yet, I can tell you categorically, the amount of quality 2 shit that's selling right now speaks wonders for how many people out there will cheap out when the opportunity presents them. Token might get down to about 220 before it rebounds. Yeah, I don't know where it's going to go, but I still think it's got room to move. It depends, right? It depends how many big old goblins turn around and look at the token and are like, alright, I'll cash out 10 mil. It happens. It happens. That's what pushes it back up again. Try land on top of the bomb ores. You'll never get hit then. I don't know what how people have so many issues with those. I tend not to have really many issues with them. I think I've only been blown up once, and that's probably because I was talking to you guys whilst doing it. Or they go rank 2 route and save money. Well, yeah, this is it. This is where I want to see how many people put their money where their mouth is. I got some pretty solid day 1 statistical information on Q3 flasks yesterday. The reality being is I didn't sell anywhere near as many flasks as I would have expected, being almost first to market on the day of the raid release. I was most definitely expecting to sell more flasks yesterday than I did. And this was whilst having relatively consistent overview on it most of the day. Didn't sell anywhere near as many Q3. But then when you looked at the price of Q2 and you realised a Q2, you could buy 10 quality 2 flasks for the price of 1 quality 3, you all of a sudden start to realise that, well, maybe some people are cheaping out. Because, you know, they can say one thing on the internet that, oh, if it's not BIS, it's dog shit. But the reality is when it comes to it, and they're, you know, if they're comfortable behind their own keyboard, then maybe they don't follow their own rules. People are going to cheap out until they have to raid Mythic and do Mythic plus keys. Yeah, but are they? Like, I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm pretty convinced the quality 3 markets are going to get squished really fast. Which is why I'm going to spend the next couple of days kind of quite laser focused on them. But what I also suspect is that the price of quality 2 shit's going to go up. So if you're doing the casual lazy man approach, I tend to think that the material prices are going to rise on the basis of that all of the farmers are now out playing the game. Simultaneously to all of the farmers going out playing the actual game, there is now, the switch has been turned on, so to say, in terms of demand for these materials. Now that that's been turned on, I suspect very much so that the prices will follow. It might not happen instantly, it might take a few days, but it definitely feels like the prices of things are going to follow. And that will rise the price of nearly all quality 2 stuff, which will bring it in line or bring it closer to the price of quality 3s. And then there'll come a point where, you know, that difference isn't so drastic, and then you might start to see that shift between a greater percentage of people buying quality 3 stuff. I don't know. It's all market economics. It's fun to think about. The reality is, it's craft a bunch of shit, sell it every day, and rinse and repeat until it's not profitable. Job done. And keep yourself busy even if you're doing like AFK crafting. This is the exact reason why my farming character is on my second account and not on my main account. Because it gives me the ability to be churning away, whacking away, doing some bolts in the background here, doing some busy work. Get some busy work done whilst simultaneously out there farming. Probably not super efficiently. I kind of could, in theory, put Loot Appraiser up on screen, I suppose, but it's unlikely to show anything too fancy because I'm not exactly super focused on it. But people love to see a number go up. We don't require the rank 3 enchants, flasks, potions, gems, etc. until it's heroic mythic track for progression raiding. And well, see, this is a massive misconception by the player base, and I'm going to use you as an example here. This isn't singling you out, but I want to use you as an example. The higher you play this game at, the higher the tier you play this game at, the less you care about your consumables and all of that business, right? You just straight up stop caring. You know why? Because you get good gear and you're usually pretty good at the game. Much like Mythic BOEs in the past, right? Mythic drop BOEs are not selling to world first raiders because they don't fucking need it, right? All of this stuff is selling to the casual Andy that's pugging. You will see more consumables used in pugs than you will in top-end raids. I almost guarantee it. Mostly on the basis of that if you live in the pug world, you are hardcore details Andy. You are super sweat mode pass, must be top of the tree, must have the highest item level, must have the best gear. Because when you get inspected, if you don't have the best of everything, you're not getting in the group. It's chaos. But that is the category of player, the more mid-tier player that is who you're selling all of this shit to. They're the ones that are swiping their credit card to have the absolute best gear because they don't get into groups or they feel that it's mandatory to have the best gear to get into the groups. These are the players that you're selling all that top tier stuff to. Your organised top end, your, you know, Hall of Fame raiders, they don't give two hoots about half of that stuff because they don't need it. They genuinely don't need it. They raid on a regular basis. They play with the same people consistently. They're relatively organised in that regard. They're usually above average players to begin with. Absolutely zero need for any like super sweat mode stuff. There'll be clearly players that still do it, but it's not the they're more the exception to the rule rather than what determines the rule. Why has this dude got so much flipping health for being a wax dude? This wax man's got doing bits. How much gold are you sitting at right now? Enough that I don't have to worry about it. Hey, a Tinder box. Go on. I don't think Tinder boxes are really that rare from wax piles in the first place. I just don't think people pick up enough wax piles. Hang on, I can't hear anything going on in the background. I think if people picked up more wax piles, they'd get more Tinder boxes. Oh, I'm not playing hoppity hops. World First Raiders only have the damage meters enabled for the viewers. They couldn't care less themselves. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just purely for the for all of their stream viewers to like drool over. I was watching some of Max's stream, probably yesterday, a little bit. I can't remember, the days merge into one at the moment, but it was so funny. He was going off on a bit of a rant about how people watch them do splits, and then are like, oh, you know, they start determining what classes are the best classes based upon what they see them doing in splits. And it was like, you guys are fucking idiots sometimes. Yes, we've stacked 12 male-wearing characters in this split. That doesn't necessarily mean they're popping off. It's how we funnel gear, you morons. It goes to show, a lot of the time, most people just don't even understand what those players are even doing. Okay, let's just leave them in there. Flipping hell, a Ratha's Spears, like over 400 gold a piece. Sheesh. What did I spec into on this dude? Herbalism, leatherworking wise, I don't even know. I went into Myco Bloom, and then I've gone into Lure Drop, and I'm farming in a zone where I don't get Lure Drop. Okay, well that was clever of me, wasn't it? That was a smart move. What did I do with mining? Oh, I'm still stacking up plethora of ore before I go into one of these two. Okay. If I was smart about this, I'd be farming up the materials that benefit me most for my flask adventures. But I ain't never doing anywhere near enough farming to make that feel worthwhile. I am going to put farmed it so it's free on a t-shirt though, I think. I can't see where he's spitting his wax blobs. How am I meant to get to these? I'm not fast enough. Need some speed gear. Give me speed gear. You quite done? You're done. It was amusing watching the Mage Discord go into meltdown because I'm Fired Up was playing as Frost rather than Arcane. They couldn't understand why, because he doesn't need to. Is Frost Biss now? Yeah, see, this is it, right? He was plotting... He entirely could have been playing Frost because he prefers playing Frost to playing Arcane. And if they're just doing splits, then he doesn't need to be pumping damage, killing world bosses. Yeah, it's... This is why you forget, right? This is why Biss lists, when they pop up on Wowhead, right or wrong, they dictate what people do. Doesn't matter if they're right or if they're wrong. If you know, if a top end streamer says something, then it's going to spread across the internet like absolute wildfire, and will become the rule. Influence and trend setting in this game is actually wild via streaming. Where's the rest of me cloth gone? Right, we're slowly running out of cloth here. They did a raid as Spell Slinger Frost Mage. Ice Lance Finger that got a workout. Oh, you main you main a mage, don't you? So you probably know it in a lot of detail. I couldn't even tell you the the hero specs for most classes. I barely know them for the hunters. I don't know about you, but I've thought from the word go that the hero talents were a bit of a meme. I don't know what the general consensus is on them, but I very quickly looked at them and was like, well, these are just all passives. I don't care. Like, I know I don't particularly play my class to a high level in any way, shape or form, but anytime I did look at any of the hero class stuff, I was just like, 9 out of 10 of these are just passives. This is just borrowed power in disguise that isn't woven into the spec tree so that they can easily delete it again at the end of the expansion. It's like, okay. And by the time I get them all, by the time I ding level 80, there's no choice to be made, I just have them. There's nothing hero about them. I was like, they seem to have done a much better job at selling them than they did on anything else. Could have easily been like, it was an awful lot of effort in most cases to say you do 10% more DPS. Done. Sure. By the time you ding level 18, you've got all your hero talents. You do 10% more DPS flat. GG. That's in essence what the hero talents are doing for most classes. I'm sure there were some that slightly changed the playstyle, but most of them looked very, very default. Fluff, I guess, is the right word I'm looking for. Deep diving into the class fantasies is cool. I mean, if they This is where I think they could have gone balls to the wall with, like, the cosmetic side of it. Because some of the most iconic abilities in the game have been ones that just look cool. I mean, look at Convoke on Druids, right? Back in its heyday when it was, what was it, Night Fae? Got Convokes? I can't remember. But, like, you press that button and it was just like, oh, God tier moment. And, like, wings for a paladin. It's just a damage amp, but it's so fucking cool to press the button. Some of them miss the mark massively, like hunters are all elf related, which kind of feels bad as other races. True. But in that scenario, you can't please everybody, I suppose. Hunters are all essentially passive, which is ass. Well, yeah, like I said, I'm biased because the only ones I've really paid too much attention to are hunters. But I did look at them and it was just like, meh, whatever. Like, it's not going to change the way I... It's not going to change the way I play the game. But like I said, my perspective on this is not to be taken all that seriously, considering I don't put that much effort in. Got to play an M+ back in Dragonflight with a player from a top guild, Unholy DK. At the beginning of the instance, there's a huge pack you can pull and just pop off on the damage meters. Of course, the DK was doing 2 mil DPS, which was normal for that many mobs. I, as a druid, did 1.8 mil, and everybody was impressed by the DK. It was the week with Ghost Affix. I had to CC the Ghost, but nobody really cares about that. Yeah, if you in DPS meters, if you're second place is just first loser, you're still a loser. I mean, come on. The easy nodes go as near as possible. You mine them faster when you are closer. Oh, do you actually? Oh, I didn't realise that there's a deafness boost when you're closer. Oh, you do seem to do them slightly faster. Ah, clever. Probably in the minority, but I believe the less sparkling on the screen, the better. I do not like additional cool animations and wish I could turn wings and such off. Yeah, you're definitely in the minority. I'm sorry. But at least you know it. It's not a minority. You're just more unique than others. God, I chat rubbish sometimes. Hang on. We're getting serious amounts of lag. Is it? Oh, it's 2 minutes past the hour. That's why. I was like, we're getting an awful lot of lag in the zone. What's going on? The theatre event's clearly doing its thing. Actually, this dude's level 80. My flipping gatherer's level 80. Let's go do the theatre event. See if we can turn up, snag ourselves a box. I kind of forget that my gatherer's level 80. Entirely by farming, by the way. I haven't even done this on my main so far this week. It's lacking. Or is it over already? Have I missed the party? No. You have a quest? What's your quest? Do stuff, okay. Oh god, the lag. I'm getting like 10 FPS. What am I even meant to be doing? Just sweeping up. Do some cleaning. Boom! Chest. Audience approval, 60 out of 50. That's clever. Shit's flying off the shelves, but I don't think we've seen the real spike yet. This weekend's going to be fun. Reset is going to be fun. Because it'll be like first Vault juice. Honestly, the next couple of weeks are going to be fun every day, really, from a Goblin perspective. I really am hoping that I can recuperate my disgusting expenditure over the last couple of weeks. Like I said, I don't mind losing 10, 15, 20 million if I have fun doing it, though. It's easy enough to make it back over the expansion. Train with who? What are we doing? Do you happen to know if the recipe from the Theatre of the Awakening Machines are warbound? They're bind on equip, I believe. You can just sell them. Binding a binding comes from here. For example. Quell the drunken audience members. Okay. Get shit on, you drunks. You don't need to shit on drunks, they usually do that themselves. What happened to pebbles? A handful of pebbles. It's a big handful now. Yeah, it's more like a fistful now. Or a bucket load. Showtime. Let's go put my costume on. Be right back, prospecting. I've got plenty of ore to prospect. I just haven't designated the time to do it. I've also realised I've been missing me flipping buffs on this dude. Let's give that another go, shall we? Drink as much as you can. Wow, that's child friendly. Everybody, get grunked. What are we actually meant to do here? I don't know. Stay away from the orbs. Alright. Where did the box go? Been buying ore for the past 4 days at 13 to 14 gold each. Still got 235k of it to prospect. It will take a while, yeah. Take a while. I haven't squirreled too much away, but I'll probably say there's part of me, right, that will probably buy the ore, and then if it like hits 30 gold or something, I'll just sell it all again. Unless I get really bored on stream. Well, the fact that I can do some farming at the same time as doing busy work in the background means I've got a way to probably do the same with prospecting if needs be. Get some busy work done. There's really part of me that long term, if I'd have thought about this, I'd have spread the love. I'd have put milling. I'd have put my scribe on one account. I'd have put my prospector on another account, and I'd just busy work the shit out of the game on just like different accounts. It's still technically feasible to do. I could just account transfer those characters. It would have to be worth enough though, and I'd have to make sure my PC wouldn't melt by doing it. I know a few people have said that if you try and you can easily run 3 or 4 accounts on most modern hardware, but if you try and get them all processing something, you can quickly burn your computer into the ground. That said, I do probably have an above average powerful PC to be able to do it, so if anybody can, I probably should be able to. Quick candlestick. Cool. Theatre troupe. What do we want? Binding of bindings. Just a recipe, really. Oh, we got the same... we got this same flipping... Same at 587. Hunter be nimble, hunter be quick, hunter invoke the power of the candlestick, increase movement speed by 20% and haste by a fuckload. Nice, I'll take it. Don't need it, it's a farming character, but we'll take it. Probably not even going to go anywhere near LFR on this dude even. Right, well that's completely nuked our gold per hour, look. Shocking, right? Shocking. Slacking. Absolute slacker. I might get rid of this weak aura, you know, because the reality is I don't care enough to actually do anything about it, so it's just there annoying me. There we go. And that also means I can put you over here. Then when I open my bags can go back over here. That taunt tip changes depending on the class. Oh, does it really? Oh yeah, I suppose I didn't even clock the fact that it's talking about a hunter and I'm a hunter. We don't even have our flipping farming buff on the go now. Jesus, amateur hour or what? Bought 200k bismuth as well, so if dust hits 110 gold each during the next 2 weeks, I'm 20 mil up just in total. But it took me 7 hours to produce 32,500 dust from prospecting to dust in my bags. Oh dear. Oh dear. This is often why I have best intentions with prospecting, and if the market changes in a dramatic way, I'm usually like, oh, I'll just resell it and let somebody else do the hard work. That quite often happens. Because the reality is if you buy materials and the materials go up, why do the busy work? Just sell the materials back out again. Oh, I've nearly ran out of weaver cloth. Where the hell is this herb? Oh, it's sneaky, sneaky. There it is. Considering that Dragonflight spikes my CPU to 60 degrees in the new areas, I would not dismiss the game burning my PC down with multiple accounts running. WoW's definitely more thirsty than it used to be. They're clearly, I mean, every time they release a new expansion, it's clear that it's the game engine is also looking to use newer hardware if you have it. Add-ons take up so much RAM. Oh, there's a memory leak, which is the bigger problem. There's a crafting memory leak. If you're doing what I'm doing in the background, so like right here, all we've been doing is unraveling for like 20 minutes or something. But I bet if I looked at my RAM usage, this account is going through the roof. Yeah, my 2 instances of World of Warcraft right now, using 8 gig of RAM, 5 gig of RAM. So this 8 gig one is probably the one that's crafting. And that number only gets worse over time. But it's fine. Where the hell is this ore? There it is. Missed it. Wow, you do smush that real fast if you're on top of it. Huh. Today I learned. A null lotus. Also check if Discord eats all the remaining CPU. It happens to me from time to time. Quit doesn't work. You actually have to kill the process. I hadn't noticed Discord being overly hungry. My Spotify weirdly chunks system resources for some reason. The reality is these days is that you just need a monster of a PC if you want to multitask stuff. Most apps are not really all that optimized for being lightweight. Need more quality 3 stuff. Oh, there's my deep grove rose already. I didn't realise we were pushing knowledge points already. Clearly picked up way more herbs than we have ore then. Notice I've only got 2 in my slabs of slate. And we've run out of weaver cloth. Or, for all intensive purposes, run out of weaver cloth. Do we now start turning these spools into bolts? Spools into bolts. Spools into bolts. That's now going to require a bit of a switcheroo on the old tool. Multicraft, please. Multicraft through the roof. We need a sizable amount more moss wool thread, I think. Do you think that's going to be enough yet? Probably. It's not like we're not going to use it. Right, go. Bolts. Do all of the above. Go. You need the buy 'em all add-on. slow our load speeds down a little bit more. Buy all. Buy them all for the war within. Done. What does it do? I mean, it's probably self-explanatory, right? You can type more than a stack size. Oh! 10,000? Yes. Nice. Now we're cooking. Right. No, not unraveling. Bolts. Go. Speedy, multi-crafty. I can't have that quality 2 enchant on there. It's going to annoy me every time I look at it.
I have calibrated my choices to be
Enchant tool. Resourcefulness. Shit, that bed. Are these 15k a piece still? Okay, now.
return.
From 96 to 120, it's just cost me 15k. Okay, now. Alright, it's all good. It's all good. Careful with the max button. Oh dear God, yeah. Fill your inventory with a vendor mat. $19 and $19. Right, that'll do. Right, leave that churning. Technically, this is a craft all situation. I can, in theory, just leave that doing. Log back every little while to make sure it doesn't crash and burn. Right, get back to making bank in another way. Hey, love me a no lotus. Ah, no, where you going? Where you going? Where you going? Where you going? Oh, I just realised. Yeah, you've got the crafting sound. Maybe we switch your game audio to the non. You don't care about the crafting sound. You want the fun noises. That's this one. Or it should be. Now that's either giving you absolutely... Okay, that's probably giving you absolutely no sound. There we go. I split all my audio out separately in OBS before it gets streamed. This is how I can send Spotify in one direction and not in another. But it does mean when I have multiple accounts open, I have to remember to switch them about. I, though, on the other hand, do still want to hear that in the background, because then I know if anything goes on. Oh my god. That got us. Where's the best place to get lure bloom, by the way, boys and girls? Is there a zone that's better for it than others? On the basis of that I have spec'd into lure bloom, it makes more sense for me to be in the zone where I get it. I'm only running around here because the southern part of this map is just pretty loaded with herbs. I could happily change zone though. What is lure bloom? Is that not this one? Oh, lure drop, sorry. You know what I mean. Shut up. Lure drops. Should we put some more points in here? Your finesse has a chance to give you extra. Could have been Blessing Blossom. That's true, I suppose. I upped the Bismuth Q3 price. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Now you can make core alloys with profit. Oh, with any existing materials I might own, yeah. Jewel Gathering does seem to be the long-term winner. Well, I'm pretty sure that if, one, you know what you're doing, two, you invest a bit of time in doing it, that, yeah, it's pretty solid. I'd even go as far as to say that doing some light rotation of professions, such as like switching out to enchanting, switching out to skinning on a weekly basis to gain the artisan's acuity from there, to help slingshot your tools and or knowledge points forward, is probably a time investment and a gold investment that's not a terrible idea. I really do think quality 3 materials are... Well, we've had one day of, like, demand, right? We've had one day where 50% of the market's materials seem to have disappeared. That's only going to lead to problems in 2 days' time. Like, I'm somewhat convinced of it. Q3 leatherworking mats are not in demand. I sold a fair few hides yesterday. Now, the profit in them's not outrageous, but I didn't really have many issues selling them if I made them.
Unbound adorn their ramoliths with flowers, symbolizing harmony and their gratitude for nature's gifts.
They were a bit all over the place in terms of numbers, mind. But there was definitely interest in them. It is more of a closed-off loop, though, leatherworking. You know, skinning goes directly into leatherworking. There's not really much of a crossover with leather materials or skinning in general. It's a very direct, this profession supplies that profession. Whereas herbalism and mining, you know, are they spread themselves out into way more many professions, which means it's sometimes harder to track what's consuming it all, where it's all going, where the problems may lie. Skinning and leatherworking are a lot more uniform. And as we know, people love a good skinning farm. So leather's often produced in similar quantities to cloth. But then for some reason, I never feel like it's consumed in the same quantities. I think leather's going to be the one that alchemists are going to love this expansion. I think alchemists are going to be buying leather en masse, because I think on average it's going to end up being the cheapest material to smush it through the Thaumaturgy printer. Wow, you really can get in and out of there like double time, can't you, if you land on top of it? I'm glad somebody told me that. Gloom kiting into lure drop. Yeah, I mean that's if you can get the numbers right on that, that's clearly a win. Found a good little spot for herb mining. I normally fly as I can have. Oh, you use normal flying as you have better control. I'm using the golem for herbing. Where now unlock the ability to mine whilst mounted. Does it work with standard flying still, or only drag? Oh, I don't know. I haven't unlocked it, and I probably won't for some time. I don't spend anywhere near enough time herbing and mining to really spend points in the utility sides of the trees. I need to extract as much moolah out of every hour I spend doing it. How's this doing? Still churning. Where's our bolts going? Where's it putting the white? Hang on. Where's it putting my weaver cloth bolts? Oh, they're here. Okay. Yeah, I might head to a different zone, just purely for a change of scenery, honestly. There is the reality. I think I've bitten off a little bit more than I can chew with this, because I probably should be pre-crafting some other stuff, thinking about it. This is great and all, but the actual gold per... The gold being made by this is still quite minimal. I'm wondering if I should be pre-crafting like some potions and flasks and stuff ready for this evening. I can always do this later. I always have this problem. I start doing something and then I always think, should I be doing something else? Maybe I just need to stick with it. Boom. Blessing Blossom. Love that shit. Let's maybe take a change of scenery. See if we can find anything more interesting in the depths. Some fancy bismuth. Fancy. Wait, hang on. If that's beeping 2 bismuth. Is that pushed bismuth over 250 a piece right now? Lord. Ooh. Okay. Printing money here. Jesus. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who can really push herbalism and mining to its limits. I have the inherent problem of that whenever I do it, I'm usually half busy doing something else. Or, you know, I'm chatting to you guys. I'm not paying the utmost attention to what I'm doing. But the point is that even me, who doesn't do any of this, is still pushing 20+ K gold an hour. With basically zero optimization and very little effort. I think if you just, you know, tunnel visioned, you could do some pretty fancy stuff. I've actually also got a shitload of flipping artisan security that I need to put to good use with herbalism and mining. I just haven't quite decided what the smart play is with it. I still kind of think getting my tools first is a bigger win than spending it on knowledge points, because I still believe that consistency with the profession, you're going to get the knowledge points anyway. Your tools are a one-time investment. Get them done, and then they're done. Like, once you've got them, you've got them. They'll benefit you forever and a day. But if you spend your artisan security on the knowledge point books, it might give you a little bump today, but then you're going to be like, oh shit, I really could do with my tool, you know? I'm not sure what the play is. Making 50, 60k an hour with herbing and mining. Yeah, I'm convinced that that's easily done. Easily done. And just to put that into perspective for others, if you're making 50, 60k an hour farming right now, the amount that you have to be crafting and selling is astronomical to make even close to that, right? Crafting doesn't have a ceiling, which makes it really attractive to people. Because in theory, you can go to the auction